Welcome to Digging In with the DLCs, where we discuss the digital influence on teaching and learning. In this episode, we will highlight two memorial teachers who set the tone for their departments as they shifted their instructional practices to blended learning.
As a DLC, there's nothing more exciting than helping teachers navigate the crossroads between technology and pedagogy. Tools are a dime a dozen. We can give you 22 episodes on individual tools, and chances are half of them won't be relevant next year. But if we can help you leverage technology to change your instructional approach, then we've hit the sweet spot. In today's episode, we're focusing on blended learning because that's where that sweet spot occurs. Before we get started, let's make sure we're all on the same page.
When we talk about blended learning, we're talking about a conceptual framework. It's a completely new way of organizing the learning environment, and it becomes a means to personalize learning, differentiate the learning needs, and ultimately individualizing learning paths for our students. Blended learning naturally combines online and offline activities, but it also is characterized by including student voice and choice in what, how, when, and where they get to learn. Additionally, we use student data and interest to design instruction. On a practical level, this occurs when teachers intentionally incorporate small group instruction, playlist and choice boards, inquiry-based learning, and authentic collaborations. And we do this to support our students' academic achievement, bolster their future-ready attributes, and heighten their social-emotional awareness.
Now that we've come into alignment of what blended learning is, I would like two of my teachers to share why they chose to shift towards blended learning in their classrooms.
We were really looking for a way to get our kids re-inspired because they were in a traditional lecture setting, getting bored. Us as teachers were getting bored delivering the material, so we needed a way to engage our students and also turn the accountability back onto them and let them see the value in what they were learning. We started off watching a video from Edutopia that really showed how blended learning was done in a math classroom, which gave us the ability to see that it could be done. So then at that point, we tried to figure out what the foundation plan would look like and which model would look best in our classroom.
So for me, in teaching AP Chemistry, really AP Chemistry was my first focus on why I wanted to shift away from kind of how I traditionally done things in AP Chemistry and move towards blended learning. There's so much content in AP Chemistry that I was trying to get through, and I really wanted to have the kids working with the material more and getting a chance to practice more. And then I also have such a wide range of levels where students were. And I wanted to have the chance to bring up some kids that are not traditional AP students, but still be able to push forward with my students that are really high achievers. And I felt like blended learning kind of gave me the opportunity to differentiate in ways that I'd never been able to before. And I also wanted to put more onus back on the kids, have them, work through the material more and figure out ways to pace themselves and learn some other skills and strategies that they wouldn't necessarily get in just a very traditional way. And so this kind of gave me the opportunity to do some of that with them as well and provided more time for reflection and figuring out for each individual kid, here's where I am, here's what I know, here's what I've done, and here's how I can move forward.
As my two teachers have shown, we as educators are constantly trying to evolve our practices to meet the needs of our students. And I think that's what makes blended learning so appealing. Now that you've heard their why, I want them to share a little bit of how they leverage technology in their classrooms to accomplish their blended learning goals.
Well, we wanted to make it fit in with our Canvas LMS really easily. So that was a huge thing that we tried to figure out how to make fit there. So we really worked with the tabs feature in Canvas and incorporating our topics because we do the standards based mindset and split our units into topics. So the tabs feature helped us do that in Canvas. We also went back to that foundation plan of how we wanted to organize it, and we split up our topics into must-dos, should-dos, and aspire-to-dos. So the must-dos was created as a playlist where the students could work through at their own pace and at their house. So really we were adjusting their time where they could work on the lessons, the place where they could work on the lessons, and then we opened up the entire unit to them so they could really work at their own pace. And us as teachers, we could facilitate it in the classroom and pull out targeted small groups to work with the kids who were falling behind or just needed a little bit of slower pace during those lessons. So the must-dos was a playlist and flipped combined. And then our should-dos and our aspire to-dos were more for our extension students that needed that extra real-world piece pulled into it, or the creation type of learning. So our should-dos were designed to enhance the learning of the unit that we were in, typically with games, or we used it as a choice board and pulled in Genially and a bunch of different tech features. Flipgrid to have students record their presentations of specific problems that they were presenting. We've also incorporated station rotation model in that as well. So we just kind of changed that up a little bit to keep it fresh and exciting. We also incorporate reflection pieces through Google Forms, and the students go through and reflect their progress through the unit, and then they make goals and revisit their goals. And we put those reflection forms on Bulb for them to visit throughout the year, so they can also monitor their growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
I kind of do a mix of some technology-based activities and, you know, some that are still paper-based and things like that. And, you know, of course, whole COVID year is a whole different story, but you know, having an online platform like Canvas where the kids know to go to, and it gives us a really good structure to keep everything in and everything else. But then I use a playlist model, and so I record all my videos in WeVideo and put it all together, and that gives me a chance to kind of push all that out at the beginning of the unit. And so they do have the opportunity to watch unit videos or lesson videos and either move ahead, or if they come and work with me originally, then that gives them a chance to go back and watch it later if they still need some more clarification. And so it gives them the you know, more times and more ways to interact with the material. And so there's things that they can work through at different times, because so much of it's technology based, so they don't have to be in the structure of the classroom at a traditional location and everything else. They can kind of work through it as they need to. And so, you know, this year especially, we're trying to do some of the stuff that they've been able to really utilize some digital learning experiences and labs, and you know, Kimmy has helped a lot with them being able to go through and annotate and work on stuff, and even being able to use some small group still, even keeping socially distanced, but maybe coming together through Zoom or something like that, trying to pull in some of those things as well.
So as you can see with blended learning, there's no one right way to do it. Rather, it allows you to find the tools that you can leverage to make yourself instructionally agile so that you can adapt and adjust to the needs of your students.